Everybody, give another couple of seconds while some more people join us. Again, my name is Greg Marcoux. I'm one of the Assistant Directors of Admission here at Rensselaer. I want to welcome everyone to our webinar today, about being an undeclared engineer at Rensselaer and kind of how that process works. We have Kristin, who's one of our wonderful advisors in the advising hub in the School of Engineering, and then we have Alexandra, who's one of our students, who's going to tell her story. Couple housekeeping notes, and then I'll go away. If you have any questions, feel free to submit them in the chat. It is a moderated chat, so when you submit a question, it will not populate right away. We will see the questions first. Just the way the presentation is going to work today, I'll hold all the questions until the very end. And then Kristin and Alexandra will just answer all of your questions that you may have about the process. So at this point, I'll pass it off to Kristin.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. As mentioned, I'm Kristin Bergen, and I am the advisor for the undeclared engineering students in the SOE hub. Some of you may have seen me yesterday when I was part of the webinar for the advising in the School of Engineering. So I'm going to touch base a little bit on that again today for those of you who weren't there. But of course, today's presentation is on starting at Rensselaer as an undeclared engineer. So I'm guessing that most of you are undeclared engineers, thinking about being undeclared engineers. And some of you might be interested in learning about all the opportunities that are available to undeclared engineers, which of course, if you've already declared a major, none of this is restricted to you. If you're at Rensselaer, you can kind of partake in everything we do. We're a very collaborative school, really. So to begin, I really want to make it clear that I think, and Alexandra knows my bias, I think starting as an undeclared engineer is one of the best services you can actually give yourself, even if you have a couple questions. And I think there's a lot of stress out there that you need to know what you're doing. And some students actually have a good understanding of engineering based on the people in their lives right now. But even if you have those people in your lives, you might still not be fully aware of all the opportunities of engineering and which major is the personality that suits your personality. I can tell you, every engineering major has its own personality, and you will definitely find yours at Rensselaer. I want you to know that there's no shame in not knowing what you want to do. I am not a person who will ever peer pressure you into declaring your major until it's time. And I think Alexandra can really speak to that testament, that I really do. I will tell you when it is the time to have to choose something, but until that moment, it can be weekly conversations with you and me, kind of putting together all the things that you're interested in. So that's kind of all the stuff I really want you to know before we get started. And again, of course, I'm biased. I love the undeclared engineers, but I think that makes all of this even more exciting, really. So again, I'm Kristin Bergen. I am the advisor for the undeclared engineers. What this means is it makes me a jack of all trades. So I know a little bit about every single engineering major, definitely enough to get you through your first 2 years at RPI. And again, I'll go into advising in the School of Engineering a little bit more, so you can kind of see how we work as a team in the hub. But other than being an academic advisor, I live in Troy. My hometown is Cooperstown, New York. Some of you guys might be fans of baseball and, Baseball Hall of Fame. No idea what's happening in the induction this year. But currently I live in Troy, New York. I'm learning how to garden. I have a lot of wounds from learning how to garden right now. I draw, I write, I read. I consider myself to be a bit nerdy, so I feel that I fit into the RPI culture pretty nicely. And I say all this because over the next year, I want you to think of me as more than just your academic advisor. I want you to think of me as a human being that you can come to in, moments where you're stressed or confused. Because I think, as an undeclared engineer, you're definitely going to have those times that you just want to talk about the decisions you have to make and not necessarily talk about the classes that you need to register for. it's really, it's really important to know that a lot of people change their major when they go through higher ed. I started out and I absolutely knew that I was going to be a teacher. My mom was a teacher. It just made sense to me that I was going to be a teacher. That lasted about a year, and I realized that I was terrified of student teaching. I did not want to get in front of a class of elementary school kids. It was just too scary for me. So I switched my major. And I think if you talk to anyone who went to college, most of them are going to tell you a very, very similar to that one. And actually, at RPI, 40%, almost 40% of our student population changes their major while they're at RPI. So all the time students come in, they know what they're going to do, they get introduced to new stuff, exciting stuff, cool stuff, and they switch. So really, some of you who are already planning to be undeclared might even be a bit of ahead of the game in choosing to be undeclared and seeing out all those opportunities before you commit to something. And there's time. Your first year, oh man, there's time to kind of figure that out. So the hub. So these are some pictures of the hub. So the School of Engineering Advising Hub, we're a first-year advising hub, which basically means that we support you from your very first transition from high school to college. So you're going to start hearing from your hub advisor in mid-June with your first registration. And then we guide you all through that first year and into the transition where you'll go to a faculty advisor. In these pictures, there's a couple things that definitely pertain to you as a undeclared engineer. That picture on the bottom left hand of my screen is one of the programs that we call the Industry Hour, which I'll talk about in a minute, where we bring industry professionals to you right into the hub, and you get to meet them, and most importantly, you get to hear about what the industry is, but of course there's networking involved with that too, and friendships, which is really fun.
Hi, Kristin. I'm just going to interrupt you quickly. We have a question. If we can make the slides bigger. Alex, could you turn off your video by hitting the broadcast button again, and I'll do the same, and then we have nice big slides. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Woo, big slides. All right, so hopefully now you can see the pictures. And the other pictures in there, there's definitely other programs that we run in the hub to get you acclimated to college and the School of Engineering, like Meet Your Faculty. But that tiny one, actually, that's in the middle of the screen, that's actually another picture from an Industry Hour program. So you can see they're really widely attended, and it's because you get to find out the day-to-day of the major that you're interested in pursuing. The hub is located right in the middle of campus, right in the middle of the JEC, which is the building where you'll find core engineering and our dean of the School of Engineering. So we're really accessible. Even if you don't have a ton of classes in the JEC in your first year, you can stop in the hub on your way to the dorm. And also, I like these pictures because it kind of gives you a taste of what it'll be like to kind of engage with the hub in the future. So as I keep alluding to, I would be your advisor for the first year. Of course, if you declare your major, we'll talk about that in a second, what happens there. But you will have a hub advisor for your first year, and then you're going to transition to a faculty advisor. So the faculty advisors, they're there to kind of help you through that upper level curriculum. They are conducting research and doing publications and presentations and conferences all the time. So once you kind of get your feet under you and you understand the basics of your curriculum, that's where we hand you off so you can start thinking about the bigger picture. And actually, I think once we switch over to Alex, she can talk to you about that more too, because she'll have been with her faculty advisor. So here's the big point. Until you declare a major, I am going to be your advisor. The cool thing about this is it means you always have someone in your back pocket. And everyone in the hub, we pride ourselves in saying that even if we very clearly don't know the answer to something, it doesn't mean you can't ask us, and we can help you find the answer. That is a huge part of my job as advising the undeclared engineers, because very likely a lot of the stuff you're going to wonder about is not stuff that I know instinctively, but I do know a lot of the people that will want to touch base with. I will connect you to faculty. I even will, kind of introduce you to the other hub advisors, those who are advise specific majors, so that you can talk to them. about curriculum and departments. Obviously, I'm able to connect you to both alumni and current students. So whenever you're sitting there and you have a question and you're not really sure where to go, the answer, just pick me, just email me. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you out. I literally wait all day for students to ask me questions. That's what I spend my time doing. So don't be shy. So in the hub, this is us. This is the team. You can see me right in the middle there with strawberry blonde hair. I have apparently changed my hair a lot this year. I went from strawberry blonde to pink to teal. Who knows what's going to happen next in social isolation? But this is my gang. These are the ladies that I hang out with every day. So Marie advises the aero and nukes. Karen advises civil, environmental, and mechanical. Valerie advises biomed, chemical, and industrial and management. And Kara advises materials, electrical, and computer systems engineering. Any of these ladies are as accessible to you as they are to me. And that means, if even now you are undeclared, that's how you want to start your time at RPI, but you maybe want to know a little bit about aero, but you're also interested in electrical, you can absolutely reach out to Marie and Kara and talk to them a bit about what your interests are and if you have any questions in there. You can kind of see my top line there. We work as a team to support you. We are one brain. All day we're emailing each other back and forth. When we're in the hub, we might be shouting back and forth to each other questions about curriculum. It's really easy to get answers when there's 5 people who have 5 different backgrounds. And one of my backgrounds is actually career counseling, which is something that I bring into my role as an undeclared advisor. I think there's a really natural fit there between career counseling and advising you guys. So my colleagues will call on me all the time to ask for my advice about being a career counselor and resumes and getting things set up. So it's convenient, and we like each other, which also really helps. So this is kind of my tagline, aiming for confidence. So everything that I'm about to tell you, everything that we do for you in the first year, its goal is to make you feel confident about the major that you're going to choose. So whether it's showing you a bunch of majors that you're not interested in, giving you that one conversation that kind of cements that you've made a right choice, that's the goal that I have, is to just make you feel really good about filling out that form and deciding what you want your major to be. And also I'd like to throw out there that even if you do feel confident and you make a choice and you change your mind and you realize that there's more you needed to know, you can always come back to me and we can do it all again. I'm not going to cross your name off a list and say, completely done here, we'll never talk to you again. But looking for that first part of confidence, that first bit where you feel really good about making that choice, that's my goal. So these are the things that we do to help you reach that goal. So each of these 4 boxes, you kind of see there's like a different focus. So the first one on the top left, advising registration for undeclared engineers. This is really the first thing that you and I are going to do together. We are going to sit down and we are going to look at a guide, which I'll show you actually in the next slide, to pick the best schedule for you based on all the many majors that you are interested in pursuing. It is a puzzle, sometimes putting them all together, but like I said in the beginning, there's actually a lot of flexibility in that first year, and most engineering majors are taking the same classes right now. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of breathing room to kind of get yourself into that fall schedule, know that you and I are going to meet in the fall, and we can have the bigger conversations at that point. Next slide over, the Engineering 1700. Plan to take this one class in the fall. It's a 1-credit seminar where every single week they introduce you to one of the engineering majors at RPI. And I've put in there that it's taught by Associate Dean Kurt Anderson, because I hope that kind of shows you how much it's valued to not necessarily know exactly what you're doing, right? This class, the goal of the class, A Better World Engineering, is to show you how within each field of engineering, there's different problems that need solutions and how those different engineering majors approach them. So that's the better world bit, but you also get to meet each of the departments too. So we'll make sure that that's on your radar and that's something you want to take. And it's not restricted to undeclared engineers either. So if you have friends who want to learn more about the other engineering majors or interested in the topic of using engineering to make a better world, well, here we go. Industry Hour it's a new program. We actually started it last fall. So this is, if you think back to the pictures I showed you of the hub with the full rooms, this is what Industry Hour is. Every week we have alumni or students who've had professional work experiences or friends of our RPI community come to talk about the day-to-day of their jobs based on the major that they graduated in. So, you get to learn from Engineering 1700 what at RPI the major means, and then you get to see, once you graduate, where do you even go with that major. It's a good way to figure out what you do and don't want to do. And then the ENGR decision. So, I should also clarify, ENGR, there's acronyms all over campus. Your acronym as an undeclared engineer is ENGR. You are engineer. So take ownership of those 4 letters. But the ENGR decision is, of course, the whole goal that we have together over, the time that you decide to be an undeclared engineer. But it's also a program that we run in the spring once you have the chance to go through all this stuff and let everything sink in a little bit. All right, so advising and registration. So on the bottom left, you're going to see something we call a major template. You're about to learn a heck of a lot about the major template. So don't worry too much about it. I just wanted to give you a visual of kind of the guide that's going to walk you through your curriculum. So this is the one for civil engineering for the class of 2023. So it's not even one that really pertains to what you would be studying necessarily. What I do want to point out about here is this sheet is a really good example of why you want to meet with your advisor regularly. You can kind of see that there's a note scribbled on that sheet. Faculty obviously will keep us in the loop when there are changes to a curriculum or more options in a curriculum. This is one of those times where there became another option for civil engineers, and students who met with me or responded to emails were all made aware of that, which is pretty cool. To the right, this is what we have for the Undeclared Engineering Guide. So this is not something that was created by the Faculty Senate or anything along those lines, but what it is it's accumulation of all the classes that are taken by all engineering majors. And you can kind of see there's a lot of colors there. It shows you all the options. And a lot of this is based on what majors you might be considering, but a lot of it is also really straightforward. All engineering majors are going to be taking physics, they're going to be taking maths, they're going to be taking chemistry, maybe bio. So together, you and I, one-on-one, are going to work through this guide based on if you're bringing any credits in or not. But you can kind of see easily that there are definitely 3 semesters worth of classes that you can take before you are going to need to commit. You have almost 3 semesters to really make a decision about it. That's not something you need to worry about right now. There's a lot that happens between starting at RPI and that 3rd semester. Alex is going to go really into detail about that and tell you her story about all that time. But yeah, so don't stress about it and know that there's this guide that will help you. My favorite part of this guide is everything that's in the orange. I know it's too small for you to see. I know you probably can't see it. Don't worry about it. It's a lot of information for right now, but that list of orange are all the 1 credit courses from engineering departments that go into depth about their major. So there's one for industrial management engineering. There's one for aeronautical engineering. So it kind of puts all those classes on your radar, which is important because some of them are fall only, which of course those will be the ones that I stress to you when we meet mid-June. All right, so introduction to Better World Engineering. This is a lot of words. I don't really expect you to read all of this, but it does really give you a good idea of what this class is that you're about to take. The important language from this is right here. Modern engineering challenges, engineering solutions and consequences, and then, of course, with a focus on the ethical, cultural, social, economic, and environmental elements of those challenges, solutions, and consequences. So while the faculty are addressing this in their presentations, they're also paying attention to the fact that there are undeclared students in the room who are trying to pick their majors. So this little cloud bubble over here, last semester I actually surveyed the students who went through this course, and I asked them to give me 3 words that they would assign to this class of what it was able to do for them. So you can kind of see informative, interesting, specific. All of those things are accurate. You know, it does spend a lot of time going into each of the majors, but what I really love about it is that it gives you that connection to that department and that faculty in one class. Every single week throughout the fall semester, you're going to meet a different faculty and a different department. You're going to hear about their real world touch, which you can see I put that bullet point twice, so you know I mean it. They're going to talk about their research. And again, undergraduate research is a huge thing at RPI. It's absolutely something you can be part of. It's just connecting with your faculty and making it known that it's something you want to do. And yes, the hub can help you through that too. They're going to talk about the Rensselaer specifics, you know, the Rensselaer degree, the reason why you want to come to RPI. You know, what can you do with an RPI degree in the 4 years you're here? And again, meeting that faculty, which is really important, you know, getting to learn who the people are that will guide you through your 4 years to your degree, connect you to jobs, connect you to internships, and hopefully people that you look back at once you graduate. And you know, you want to talk to the current students who are going to be at RPI, I guess, 8 years from now. Part of that survey, I also asked them to tell me if there was anything else, and this one I just loved. This was a section that was totally optional, and no one had to say anything if they didn't want to, and I think that the fact that someone took the time to write this really shows you how valuable this class can be. I think when I have conversations with students about this class, the one thing that they will tell me, you know, and we'll meet almost on a regular basis as well, I definitely know that I don't want to be this major now. That is as important as knowing the majors you do want to be. So it's a way to kind of every week maybe cross something off the list or circle something as a way to say, yeah, I want to revisit this. This is something I'd like to learn more about. All right, so we've gone through our registration, we've gone through Engineering 1700, so now we're getting into the more programming that we'll be doing for you as an undeclared engineer. So Industry Hour, like I said, is a brand new thing that we started last year. So last fall we had 33 speakers, and that consisted of alumni, current students, and friends of the Rensselaer community. Most of them were, I think, probably 27 of them came to campus, and a handful of them they thought this was so important to communicate with the current students that they actually called in with a video chat. But what we did is after every single Engineering 1700, we followed that. We basically had you come straight from that class into the hub. We provided dinner, which we got all of our favorite off-campus food, which you can kind of see, good food made a pretty big impact on the students. So we got that campus or off-campus food, and we had a conversation with the speakers. The speakers would talk about their day-to-day on the job. They would talk about the projects that they're working on. Many of them, I'd say probably like 95% of them, even shared their contact information. Which the great thing about this is in your first semester, of course, you're thinking about internships and co-ops and jobs in the future. But right now you have a really good way to connect with them that doesn't necessarily have to be about that, and build a relationship with them, which is, I think I want to be a mechanical engineer. I loved what you talked about. I'm wondering if you have time to talk to me about it with my personal question and my personal goals. So these individuals, these speakers that we had, made themselves very readily available to students who are trying to make decisions. And the cool thing about Industry Hour is we actually open that up. You don't have to be an undeclared engineer to come to Industry Hour. So if you are a mechanical engineer and you want to meet these professionals, you of course can come. like I said, we're collaborative, we're sharing, and it makes for a really good environment to have all these different reasons for people to come to the room. And the hub is such a comfortable, relaxed place that it's a nice event. It's a nice event, and it's really nice that we have so many people who wanted to talk to students just about this, just about what life is like when you graduate with a certain degree. Again, I did the survey. You can see the big words there: useful, relaxed, good food, informational, comforting. Those are the words that students assigned to this program. And again, that quote that I said, anything else that they didn't need to say if they didn't have to, was this: I really loved industry hour, and it helped me understand engineering a lot better, which is the goal, right? Mechanical engineering is a super broad degree. You can take it anywhere. So where do you take it? Where do alumni go? This student was able to pick their major based on the information they got from this. And some students even go into this and realize that they didn't actually know what engineering was, and they discover what engineering is, and can make a bigger decision for themselves based on that information. And I would also like to point out that everything I just talked about happens by the time you finish your fall semester. So you get to know me and your curriculum over the summer. In the fall, you get all this information about trying to decide a major. And by the end of that semester, you've already had a really good dose. Many students at that point do find that confidence to make a decision. And again, no pressure from me if you're just not ready. Some students want to hang out with me just a little bit longer, and who am I to push them off? And time is your friend, within these first couple semesters and becoming whatever engineer you want to pursue. So the engineering decision, it gives you the chance to let all of this sink in, basically. So it's something that we typically do at the end of the spring semester. Of course, this year it was a little bit different, so we kind of did it in a virtual way. But we let the fall and spring 1-credit exploratory courses, that orange that I showed on the registration guide, we let that information sink in. We let you get through a good portion of your spring only, or the 1 credits you choose to take in the spring. Take those classes to see how you like the information that you receive from them. We give you time to let industry hours sink in and have those additional conversations with our speakers, our guests, if you feel like you need them. There's a ton of other resources that I'm not even going to begin to go into in this webinar because I don't want to overwhelm you too much, but there's a lot more with the Career Center and in the School of Engineering that you can look through as you're making a choice. And then you will definitely be meeting with me at least twice before we have this engineering decision program. So there's a lot of time to kind of consider what's best for you in this choice. And one of the coolest things about this program is that the Career Center actually collaborates with me on it. So they bring in their piece to it too. They actually are part of Industry Hour as well. They show the stats for each major. So, where do, what companies hire like mechanical engineers? Do they go to grad school? What salary do they start at with their first jobs? What salary do they have for their internships and co-ops? This is all really important information when it comes to making a choice about your future. So the Career Center comes to this too, and they kind of reiterate all that information, and they talk about the resources that they can offer you. And again, it's an opportunity for us to have good food and hang out in the lounge. So really low pressure, just hanging out with people who care about what you want to care about. All right. So I mentioned this before. I think this is a really important thing to keep in your mind. Almost 40% of Rensselaer students change their major at some point during their 4 years of undergrad. It is really common. And what I want you to know is that if you're feeling any pressure right now about your major, don't feel that pressure. You can absolutely declare something if something occurs to you this summer. It's pretty easy. You can also go from having declared a major to undeclared engineering if that's something you feel you need to do. But like I said at the beginning, like all the stuff that I just talked about, you do not have to be undeclared engineering to take advantage of that stuff. You can still meet with me if you want to meet with me as the undeclared advisor. You can still come to engineering 1700. You can still go to Undeclared, or you can still go to the engineering decision. You'll know about all that stuff. So do what you need to do for yourself. I think the first step is really just let's go to college, right? And making that decision, and then being prepared to start engaging with me one-on-one in mid-June. So that's my part. That's everything I wanted to share with you guys today. So I'm actually going to pass it over to Alexandra, who was one of my first undeclared engineering students. And she's going to take the time to tell you her story of going from undeclared to becoming an IME. So I'm going to disappear now and leave it to you.
Thank you. Well, hi everyone. My name is Alexandra Rochelle, and I just finished my sophomore year at RPI. A little bit about me: I'm from New York City. My major is industrial and management engineering, and I have a minor in psychology. On campus, I'm largely involved with Greek life, Society of Women Engineers, ski and snowboard club, and intramural sports. I actually started out as an undeclared major, but before I came to RPI, I applied as a biomedical engineering major. I knew that I wanted to do engineering in high school because I always loved math and problem solving, and I wanted to do something that had a large impact on society. So that's why I was thinking biomedical engineering or environmental engineering, but I still wasn't 100% sure. So that's why I declared undeclared, kind of an oxymoron there. And one of the main reasons I picked RPI was because I wasn't 100% decided, because I knew that any branch of engineering that I decided to go into, RPI has a strong curriculum for and has a strong program for. And in case you still haven't made your decision about going to RPI, I want to stress that all engineering curriculum programs are phenomenal and they have an amazing reputation in the professional world. And one of the additional reasons I picked RPI was because I got to shadow a student when I was a senior, and I got to see firsthand how friendly and collaborative all the students were and how they work together. And they really have a well-rounded experience in terms of clubs and diversity and just being involved on campus in research and everything. So the people was a major factor for me in choosing RPI. Coming in as an undeclared major, I wanted to learn more about the different majors, and the class that Kristin talked about before, Engineering 1700, was a huge help to me because there were some lectures that I went to where I was like, this material, I just like don't see myself doing this in the future. I don't want to pick this major. But then there were other majors where I was like, wow, like this is really interesting and I want to learn more about this. And there was one lecture that I went to for industrial engineering, and I had no idea what this major even was before I came to RPI, and I didn't know what the discipline consisted of until I heard Professor Sharkey present that day. So after that, I made an appointment in the engineering hub with Kristin, who was my advisor at the time, and she kind of helped me by giving me more resources on what I could do to learn more about it. So she told me to take the 1-credit Intro to ISYE course, and I took that in my spring semester. There are a lot of 1-credit courses for most majors, so whatever major that you think you might be interested in, you can definitely take those, and I would highly recommend them. I was really nervous when I realized that I liked both of these majors because I was very torn between them, and I was really anxious about being undecided because I feel like there is some pressure on you to know what you want to do, especially when you're applying to colleges and you are supposed to apply to a certain degree within that college. And it got to the point where the more that I learned about the different majors, the more I was kind of split 50-50 between biomedical and industrial engineering. And I know it does seem like you might have pressure from maybe your parents to do something. I know I came from a civil engineering family, so I had a lot of civil engineers telling me like that was a great field too. And as I kind of went through, I got to see how a lot of other students as well were changing their majors. People who were really set on like being a BME ended up becoming a Mechie in spring semester. So I realized that it wasn't just me, and as I talked to more people and as I talked to Kristin, I realized there were a lot of resources that I could start using. And I really started to take advantage of that in my spring semester. And I wish that I had started earlier. One of the pieces of advice that Kristin gave me was to talk to upperclassmen. And I actually went to Evening with Industry, which she mentioned before, and I met an upperclassman who had a similar story to me. So I went up to her after the presentation, and she was super eager to share her experience with me. We actually met up for lunch one day, and she told me about the research that she's involved in. She showed me some of the topics that she's learning about in her coursework, and that really helped me get a sense of what her major was about, which was industrial engineering. And if I hadn't talked to her, then I probably wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't taken those steps. I also talked to upperclassmen in some of the organizations I was in, like in my Greek organization, and they told me about work that they did in internships, and they continually gave me advice about like resources that I could use on campus. I also went to company info sessions and alumni panels hosted by SWE to hear about work that alumni were doing post graduation. That's similar to the Evening with Industry presentations as well. And another thing that I did was I went to the CCPD, also known as the Career Center for Professional Development, and I had a one-on-one meeting with a counselor, and she helped me by showing me graduation statistics broken down by each major, as well as different companies that hire graduates and helpful websites where I took some career quizzes. And they do have some of that information on their website too, so you can do some digging even before you get to campus. And another thing you can do before you get to campus is look at each department's research and look on the websites for what projects are being done to see if some of those things sound interesting to you as well. So ultimately, all of these things, all these steps that you can take help a lot, and it really helps you to take that initiative and talk to people, and I can't stress that enough. Um, Another thing that you can do that I did was look through those major templates that Kristin shared with you before. If you kind of just look at the majors that you're interested in and see what classes you have to take, see if those courses sound interesting to you, see if they sound boring to you, because that will give you kind of a good sense of maybe I do want to do this, maybe I don't want to do this, because knowing that you don't want to do something is just as valuable as knowing that you do want to do something. And another thing I did was I made a lot of pros and cons lists. I did this so much sophomore year, especially when I was feeling a lot of pressure. I tried to weigh my options, and I made so many appointments with Kristin and so many appointments with Val, another advisor. And we just kind of went through, okay, what do I like about this? What do I not like about this? And what should I consider? So another thing that I considered was flexibility of majors. Um, One thing that drew me to industrial engineering was how you can work in so many different fields once you graduate. You could work in supply chain, manufacturing, logistics, business consulting, data science. There's so many options, and that was something that I really liked. Another thing I liked was the material. And once I did declare my major and really dove into the classes in the department, I loved the material that I was learning, and that kind of helped me confirm like I did the right thing. Um, Another thing that I want to point out is there's a lot of professional societies on campus, and there's one for basically every engineering department. You don't even have to be involved in the clubs too much. You can just go to events that you're interested in. I know I did that for 2 different societies freshman year, and that helped me as well. Um, so there's a lot of resources available to you, and even if you're shy like I was freshman year, I didn't really like want to reach out to people in my fall semester, so I didn't do much of that until the spring semester. So take advantage of the resources available to you. um, Another thing is, oh yeah, um, don't get up trying to make the right don't get caught up trying to make the right choice, because there is no right choice. It's more about you than the major itself, and learning about what you like and what you don't like. And I was so concerned about picking something that would have a big impact on society, but I didn't realize that all of the majors can have a tremendous impact, and it really depends on what you decide to do with your degree when you graduate. um, so yeah, if there's any questions that you have, please contact me, and don't be afraid to talk to upperclassmen, talk to your advisors, make appointments with them. I know the day that I declared my major with Kristin and I handed in the form, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. But it was definitely a process to get to that point, and definitely reach out to people. So yeah, that's pretty much it from me. Um,
Perfect, Kristin. If you want to hop on, we can start answering. We just a couple questions so far. One is from when are incoming students going to be able to start selecting courses?
Great question. You're gonna hear from, well, if you're an undeclared engineer, you'll hear from me in about mid-June. I think it's June 17th. We're going to send you an email, and that email is going to, it's going to be from me. So the person you've been talking to today, and we're going to kind of begin to put together the schedule. And the reason why we wait till mid-June, of course, we want you to get through high school first. We want you to finish your AP exams and maybe get those results. And then on the RPI side, we're finalizing what each major for the class of 2024, what those requirements are going to be. Every year, they add a little bit different information and courses to the curriculum. So that's what's happening right now. I totally get being excited about this. So if you do want to talk to me right now about what the fall will probably look like, just email me and we can talk about it. I've already met with a couple of students actually, who were excited to kind of think about what they might be taking this fall. So yeah, feel free to reach out.
Wonderful. Do we know when RPI will let us know about the fall semester? We'll know. You'll know when we know.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're at. The hope is that we'll be able to have you on campus. It's a traditional semester, but we all know it's May 14th, and classes aren't going to start until at the very beginning of September or early August. I always forget exactly when the date is this year. So there's a lot can change in between then. So if we'll let you know. The plan right now is to start in the fall as normal. Summer orientation has been pushed to an online format, so you won't come on campus for orientation. But we're hoping to start the fall standard. Kristin, do you have anything else that you may have know or have heard?
No, I totally agree. I'll probably find out the same time all of you will. Of course, I mean, I think you all can tell that I really like to be around people, so I'm very much hoping and eager that we're going to be together in the fall, and that's the way I'm thinking about it because I believe in the power of positivity. But of course, being realistic that we are in a international health pandemic at the moment, we got to make sure everyone's going to be safe too. So I know nothing, but that doesn't mean that you can't, hope for the best, right? That we'll be together in the fall.
Yeah, and then a question from Marie: is it definitely June 17th that they'll be hearing from their advisors?
Well, thanks, Marie. I think I know exactly who that is too. I believe.
I just realized who it was too. I didn't even think about it. Yeah,
I
it is
believe
most likely Marie Deffenbach, who is the director of the advising hub. Most likely, that's who that is. I didn't even notice.
Marie is my boss and dear friend, and that's why I made a face when I said June 17th, because I'm pretty sure, but I also don't have that date right in front of me. I know it's mid-June though, so, and it's going to be right before you start doing the consultation weeks for your fall semester.
Yeah, and again, the idea is that you guys are going to be, hopefully most of you will be done high school or close to done high school your senior years before you start registering for classes. It's one of the main goals here. And then if you guys could put your emails in the chat if you feel comfortable doing that, just so that if they have any questions afterwards, we can answer that. So we'll do that now. Question from Susan. If you choose a major already, but you're strongly considering a dual major, can you still have access to the resources given to undeclared majors?
That's a great question, actually. If you are considering a dual major, a lot of times, it's absolutely a conversation you'll have with an advisor. sometimes, depending upon what the dual is, we'll kind of help you see what that dual looks like. So we have something called a 4-year plan that I didn't touch upon today. But the 4-year plan, its job is to kind of answer questions like this. What do the next 4 years look like? Some duals are better than others. Like the mechanical aero dual is really, really nice because it's in the same department, but others are way more challenging. And I don't want to speak on behalf of like biomed, but in the past, like it's almost impossible to do a dual with bio just because of their later curriculum. That being said, what I would actually have you do is send me an email, and then I can connect you to the advisors for both of the things that you're interested in so that you can start to see what that looks like. And also, I'm going to finish this by saying there's loads of time to decide if a dual is something you want to do or not. So I'm really happy that you're thinking about it now because it'll give you some time to think about it, and you can get those answers you need. But yeah, you have a lot of time.
And one thing that all of these webinars are recorded. So this one's being recorded. We actually did one yesterday. I'm not sure if anyone attended that one as well. Kristin was a part of it. We also had Valerie from the Advising Hub, and then 2 of our student services administrators, one from Electrical and Computer Systems Engineering and the other one from Maine Mechanical, Aeronautical, and Nuclear Engineering. So that's being recorded. Once the system processes it, we get it right up on YouTube. So it's been taking a couple of days for the system to process the recording. So that'll be right up on the RPI Admissions YouTube page, hopefully by the latest early next week. So just to keep that in mind, if you want to go back and watch that one or this one, you can check out all of our webinars we've done so far. This question's for Alex. Did you have any trouble taking or managing a 18 credit course load in your first semester?
Taking 18 credits is definitely an adjustment from high school, no matter how many credits you're going to take. It's a completely different environment than high school courses because there's a lot more work that you have to do outside of the classroom and a lot more studying that you have to do. So it's a lot, but it's very manageable because you have a lot of resources available to you. Like most of the freshman year courses and especially first semester courses have TAs, and you can use tutoring resources from ALAC. You can also go to office hours provided by faculty and reach out to them with any questions you have. And if you join organizations, you can also speak to upperclassmen. And there's so many resources to help you. I think one of the hardest things for me to manage was not just coursework, but balancing coursework with extracurriculars and joining like a million clubs my first semester and kind of having to narrow it down to like what I actually wanted to be in. So I'd say the adjustment to college is not only the coursework that's hard, but also just figuring out like everything else, like your professional societies and clubs and sports and making friends, things like that. Just balancing everything together was difficult, but at the same time very manageable because everyone on campus is so helpful and everyone else who's a freshman is going through the same thing. So all the friends that you make, your roommates, your classmates, they all understand it too, and they're there to help you.
There's definitely a lot of undeclared engineering is usually our 4th largest engineering major incoming every single year. So there's a lot of people who are in the same boat if that's where you are. The cat is doing the normal walk across the screen as is required by all animals. When do courses start being more specific to the majors?
So, and it depends upon the major, but typically we will see a lot of specific courses that first semester of your sophomore year, so that fall semester. So until you until you declare a major, that's what you and I, it's kind of our target. So we'll be looking at the fall semesters of the majors you're interested in, making sure that we're paying attention to prereqs and co-reqs for that semester. You will see some in the first year. A lot of them are those 1 credit courses, those exploratory courses, which for you right now are just going to be fun and helpful and exciting as opposed to a major requirement. But yeah, a lot of them will start in your sophomore year. And if you bring in credits, I'll throw this out too. Potentially they'll have to come in a little bit earlier. So what we do is we make sure that we don't build a semester that's really, with the question that Alexandra just answered, like we work really hard to build a semester that's not going to frighten you from engineering, even if we have to bring some upper level classes down.
Perfect. All right. Any more questions for Kristin or Alex? Other than the APs, what other credits can be transferred?
So APs definitely. You can also bring in IB credits. Although I have to admit, I'm a little bit out of the loop with what's going on with the virus and exams. So this might be something that you want to take a look into and then email me about later. But some students actually will take college level courses the summer between, like this summer, the summer between graduating from high school and starting at college. So if you do something like that, there's a process to it on how you get those courses to transfer in. Happy to talk about that. I'm doing that with a lot of my rising sophomores right now. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. The AP, the IB, and if you take some college credits. And I know. Sorry, I just remembered. Some students take credits that are college level in high school. If those were not applied to your high school diploma, you could actually probably bring those in too. Something like that, I'd say email me about. But yeah, you just have to make sure that they weren't a requirement for your high school degree, and then they could potentially work in your favor here too.
Perfect. Are all AP credits transferable, or does RPI only accept certain AP credits? And I always say that the full AP policy is on the admissions webpage. For most exams, almost every exam, it's just a 5 now. I think AP Calc BC might be the only one that might be a 4. Don't take my word on it. Check the policy on the admissions page. And then that policy will also tell you what course it credits for. So for, if you got a 5 on the AP Bio, what classes does that specifically go to, so on and so forth. So Kristin, do you have anything else?
Yeah, and that's definitely a big part of that mid-June conversation that you're going to have. Your advisor is going to work really hard with you to figure out exactly what it is you're bringing in so that you can register for the classes that make most sense for you. Because some stuff will come in and take care of your general education requirement. At RPI, we call that your HOS requirement. And then, of course, they plug in a lot of different places. So that helps us make a fall schedule. So when you have, I know for most of you it's going to be me. So when we talk, we'll make sure that you feel pretty confident about what you got to come in with you.
Perfect. Do people have difficulties balancing sports and school at RPI?
That is a great question. I have to say, actually, and I think Alex could probably, talk about her peers to this question too. Some of the most organized students that I get to work with are actually the athletes. And I think it's because, it's no shocker. You have less time in the day, right? So you have to become very organized to multitask with your classes and your athletics. And you get strong advocates both with your coach. There's an advisor in the athletics department, your fellow teammates, and of course, your academic advisor in the School of Engineering. So, I say that word collaborative all the time, but there is a pretty good group of resources for you as an athlete. I'm also not going to pretend that it'll be the easiest thing in the world, and there are definitely going to be some adjustments, especially in your first semester. But that it's just part of the transition to college, and it's one of the reasons why you and I will meet, so that you can kind of talk about what you need in order to feel like you own your schedule and your schedule doesn't own you. Alex, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely very manageable to do both. I know some engineering majors who are varsity athletes and are involved in Greek life on top of other things too. So it really depends on how many things you can handle at once. You know yourself best. And it's very manageable to do both at the same time. And if anything, like Kristin said, it does help you to be involved in a lot of things and have a busy schedule, because any free time you do have in your schedule, okay, I need to study for this now, I need to do homework for this now. And it forces you kind of to stay on top of everything. And again, you have peers, you have other people in your clubs and teammates. Oh, someone said they can't hear me, I think.
Yeah, Alex, if you could just refresh your screen, and then kind of re-answer that question, that'd be great, because I can hear her. So,
I can.
Yeah. So I always say too, what we hear from the athletes that are student ambassadors in our office is that being an athlete actually probably helps them at RPI because they've had to learn time management faster than some other students. So maybe students really get their time management really locked down at the end of their freshman year into their sophomore year, where athletes, especially fall athletes, you have to get your time management locked in even before classes start because you start practices before then. The time management seems to be a real bonus to being an athlete is you have to learn that skill early. But Alex, if you could kind of re-answer that question. And so I think Sophie sent that through. Sophie, if you still can't hear Alex when she starts talking, you just need to refresh your screen, and then it should load back, and you should be able to hear Alex. But Alex, if you
Yep,
could answer
definitely.
that question
So I
again.
think it's very manageable. I know people who are varsity athletes in Greek life and are engineering majors, and they can definitely manage it. You have people who are your peers and who are your teammates that are also going through the same thing. So it's very helpful if you work together and collaborate with each other. And I think having a lot of other things going on outside of school really kind of forces you to use the free time that you have to study, because you say, okay, I know like I have this test coming up. I need to use this free 2-hour block that I have to study for it. And this is when I need to do my homework. So having a lot of time constrictions also helps you to kind of force you to incorporate studying into your schedule and help you build those time management skills, because time management is one of the most important things that you're going to have to learn during your first couple of months at college.
All right. And then we did so the IB exams were canceled. So unfortunately, we do need the test for transfer. We can't just take your expected grade or your final grade in the class. Any other questions for Alex or Kristin or myself? Again, our emails are all in the chat. Alex, I don't see yours. Alexandra, I don't see yours. But if you don't mind throwing it in, that would be great. Just so that our student, if you have any follow-up questions that maybe you don't feel comfortable submitting while everyone's here, feel free. But again, it doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in. Kristin, Alexandra, thank you so much for taking the time and really for the great clarification for our students, for incoming students and prospective students as well. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you. This was fun.
Wonderful. Yeah, again, so if you have any questions, feel free to email us. And besides that, everyone enjoy your Thursday. Stay safe and enjoy the day.